if we, as Yves Bonner presented to you, there has been several steps of our policy. The last steps were agreed yesterday at an executive meeting of the Council of IFHA, where we unanimously agreed on all the lines and the philosophy I will present today, which is important, and on the new Article 6E, which was mentioned by Yves Bonner, and I will mention again concerning control out of training. And when I say unanimously, I include the Jockey Club of the United States with a member of the Executive Council, and totally agreed on our philosophy. I must say that I have the pleasure to have invited the chairman of the Jockey Club of the United States, Denis Phipps, to be the keynote speaker of the Paris conference. And I think it will be of great interest for all the members of IFHA and the press to listen to Denis, who has always strong views, which I share. He recently published 2 statements that I could have written myself that I totally support. So as you were told, and as you can see, we had 2 very important steps in the past, which have been the establishment of international screening limits. There is now 28. We agreed 3 more yesterday. And detection times. They are vital and a key to our policy, because if you want to spend money on research and to have more sensitive systems, and now you have very sensitive machines, they cost a lot of money, but you have to be sure that you do not prevent therapeutic use, which has to be guaranteed, and you have also to have screening limits applied for all the labs. The second aspect of the policy, as it was presented by Yves Bonner, is the detection of doping agents and prohibited practices. For the doping agents, we must be able to test horses in and out of competition. It is very important to be able to do it at any time during the career of the horse, and for these substances at the lowest possible level. So we must spend the money to have the material who can detect them at the lowest level. And we have seen the challenge which is a new challenge of the biological integrity of the horse with genetic manipulations. That's why we wanted to have a genetic subcommittee chaired by Yves Bonner in order to be able to work on these new threats. What is important for the national racing authorities is to organize pre-race, post-race, and out-of-competition testing, both urine and blood, and I insist on both urine and blood. I know some of you do not do both, but for these new doping agents, some will be much easier to find in urine or in blood. So if you want to have the complete scope, you must do both. And on top of that, you can also use air, which is now very currently used for human beings and who can also be used for horses. Clearly, there is a problem of resources. Funding is vital. Funding is very important. We know that all the racing authorities around the world do not have the possibility of buying some of these machines. That's why I will develop later on what can be done on a continental level. The enforcement of in the rules of racing of the provision of the article of the international agreement, including new Article E, are focusing on first the total ban on rest day medication. We think it's very important in our policy to start with a full ban on rest day medication applied everywhere in the world. It's a prime aim. There is a lot of progress which have been made in some part of the world, in some continents like South America. We know that it will be difficult to implement it in some part of the world in all races, but we think that at least the prime aim should be to try to implement it in all graded and black type races, which are the races that make the breed. And some progress has been made, and we hope that we can go further. Then it is very important to have a complete record of all veterinary procedures. and treatments that is maintained and always available. There was recently in the States a statement from Dean Phipps before the Kentucky Derby on the recommendation to publish medical records. And I think it was a very good initiative to ask to publish on the internet the medical record of the horses that would be participating in top races. And it's a first step before control out of training, which is very important. That's why we have defined the career of the horse from the commencement of the training to final retirement from racing. As far as out-of-competition testing is concerned, racing authorities must be able to test during all the career of the horse, which impose a traceability system. That's a vital issue. It is used for human beings, for athletes. Athletes have to declare where they are, and if a control is sent and the athlete is not there at that time, then he can be suspended by international sports organizations. So we must have a similar system where trainers notify where the horses are trained, their location, when we must know permanently where they are. And this traceability is very important, and if you don't have it, then there should be, in the rules of racing, some measures that would prevent the horse from racing for a set period. As Bonner saw, there is substance which should be prohibited at any time in the career of the horses, anabolic agents. As far as I'm concerned, I consider that anabolic agents have no place either in breeding or racing. But here we are concentrating, as we're talking about racing authorities, on the racing side. We know that there is still, in some countries, some legal possibility of using them as therapeutic agents. Then we think that if they are used as therapeutic agents, then there should be a stand-down period of a minimum of 6 months, which could go further depending on each case, if horses had been treated with anabolic agents. Bon, there is other substances in the same class which were covered by Bonner, beta-2 agonist and peptide hormones. I will leave that to the scientists. For laboratories, the object of the IFHA is to implement a proficiency, a quality control scheme, and establish a list of compliant laboratories over the world in each continent. We want to have in each continent laboratories which have a specific policy. A lot of countries are now having their laboratories accredited by the official accreditors, but that accreditation for specific techniques, for specific drugs, what we want is to be able to go further than that, and we have in some international labs developed our own research possibilities, and we want to be able to use them all around the world. Bon, clearly, we have a need for financial support for such a scheme, which we will help through IFHA, and national racing authorities who are interested in participating and having one of their labs recognized in their continent, then should also provide funds to put their laboratories at the level required. This laboratory certification will be an ongoing process that will be prepared together between all the continents, and that's why we will create within IFHA a task force to work with the AORC, the Association of Racing Chemists, which is very important. We already had contact with them and the laboratories to establish the system. So that's what we are intending to implement, working together in order to have these certified laboratories available in North America, South America, Europe, Asia. And one of the aims we have is to test horses who run in international races in these labs when the system will have been established. That will take some time, but I think it's a big challenge and it's a very interesting challenge. And I'm going to present that at ICRAV in September, where we have all the racing chemists and the veterinarians. Our second priority is the welfare of the horse. So we created in 2010 a welfare committee which has been working on all the fundamental principles which are in the base of our international agreement. Works has been done, use of the whip, you remember our discussion at the last Asian Racing Conference, and a lot has been done with the new whip, which is now well accepted. The life of the horse at the end of the racing career, it has to be one of our priorities. The 2-year-olds in training, not to race horses too hard or too early. The transport, which is very important for the welfare of the horse, the risk of injuries. These principles are essential, and we must absolutely put the priority. It has to be a permanent attitude and a permanent responsibility of the trainers for the keeping of the horse, the feeding, the training of the horse, to always be taking into account the welfare. And some recent cases have shown how important it is to respect the horse in all sides. We also are thinking that it is very, very important that when we do control in trainings, at the same time, we must take control of the trainer. Every time we license a trainer, we visit the facilities, we look at how good they are, and from time to time, we make checks when we have any suspicion of malpractice or bad treatment of horses. And I think it's very important that it's done around the world. So now we are reinforcing the welfare committee. Andrew Harding will work with Tim Morris in order to follow all the welfare cases and to be able to follow, react, and be proactive on all the cases that would appear. We think it is also important to incorporate all these issues in education courses. In liaison with the veterinary profession, I think we found out now we have an exam for trainers in our country, and I think it's very important that these people are going to be licensed and to have the responsibility of the horse on a daily basis are educated, and that we control the level of the education. So it's very clear that in our mind, any abuse of the horse must be punished, and we must take a very strict stance because the welfare of the racehorse is paramount for us. So to conclude, I would like to say that we must be proactive. We have in our welfare committee terms of reference the fact to be permanently in contact with welfare association. You have animal rights association and welfare, which are different, but we think we have nothing to lose to talk to them, and we must be permanently available. And when they have a challenge, instead of putting it on the website, we would like them to come to see us and to discuss with them how we can address, because very often it's easier for us to solve the issue within the racing authorities with their powers than to address that publicly or to challenge through a court that will take sometimes years or months to solve the issue. So we will target, as I said, specified doping agents for drug control in international races. We also have created a confederation with FEI, and we are working very closely with FEI. And we had a very good first meeting because we want to coordinate and strengthen our policy to guarantee the welfare of the horses. We have similar issues, and we will be stronger together than separated. And we have agreed with FEI to create a special fund that will be there to encourage initiative to support the integrity of the horse sports industry and to ensure its quality and fairness, and to show you that sometimes you can work on serious matters and you can still smile when you come out of the meeting. That's a photo of our first historical meeting of the Confederation between FEI and IFHA, and you see the big smile of Winfried on that photo. Thank you for your attention.
Well, now